I have such an interesting company, interesting entrepreneur, and interesting topic. Ed Karr, chairman of US Gold Corp. Welcome to the Playbook.
Thanks, Dave. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, this is an entrepreneur roadmap show, and I love, going backwards into technology, meaning working with a gold company, one of the oldest businesses, but it also carries an energy to it. What drew you or attracted you to the gold business through your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, great question. And I'll tell you, I've been investing in this sector kind of as an investor, company builder, entrepreneur for the last 30 years. And the gold exploration sector, it's very cyclical. So this is a sector where you get these big booms, but also big busts. And if you can get your timing right, it's kind of like Kenny Rogers says in the song, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And if you can get the timing right in this sector, you can actually do quite well. So that's what actually attracted me to gold exploration many, many years ago. Yeah, I'm not a geologist. I'm not a mine engineer. I know lots of them. We have lots of them in our company. But I've done quite well in this sector. I've had a lot of losers, but a few winners along the way too.
Yeah, you certainly have. And one of the things that I like about gold, similar to real estate, for example, is that if you set your parameters around your timing and risk tolerance, there's a historical analysis that can take place, and plenty of experts like yourself. I always say, depending on what sector or what you want to invest in, the best thing to do is find somebody like you who's been in the business for 30 years and simply ask them this important question. When do could you let me know when something's oversold, like gold, or could you let me know when gold's overbought? And you don't have to be at the top or the bottom, but for me, I can study the industry, market, career in exploration from now until the end of the year and not even come close to the situational knowledge that you have. How do we determine, or what would you suggest the timing and risk tolerance be with gold? And how do we project that?
Yeah, look, there's a bunch of aspects that go into an answer of that question. So you certainly have a seasonal basis to gold and gold exploration companies. And to tell you the truth, we're approaching a fantastic entry point right now, in my opinion. The price of gold bullion tends to base from a seasonal standpoint late February into early to mid March. So that's where we are right now. Gold today is about $1,720 an ounce. It's getting a little bit beat up. It's down from its high. We hit almost $2,000 an ounce in August last year of 2020. And we've just been slowly selling off since that time period. Personally, I think right now, going into mid March 2021, this is an excellent entry point. Gold might go to 1700. It might break even a little bit below, but you see what's happening around the world. Massive fiscal and monetary stimulus trying to counteract the downturn from the COVID-19 pandemic. We've got bond yields kicking up around the world, so interest rates increasing. People are worried about inflation, and gold provides an excellent inflationary hedge, a fantastic long-term store of value. So I think this is going to be a great entry point right now for the sector and for individual companies like ours, like US Gold Corp.
And with US Gold Corp, you must have exposure to one of the best parts of the gold business, which is picks and axes. One of the early lessons I've learned in business is, Dave, you got to get into the picks and axes business, which is a gold reference, of course, here in America. Are there any components of the picks and axes business within Gold Corp?
Yeah, we're an exploration and development company. So none of our projects right now are in production. We are trying to move our projects towards production and ultimately prove up discoveries. And if we can prove up some big discoveries, that can create a lot of shareholder value. The exciting thing for us is we have 4 projects in 3 of what I believe are some of the most mining friendly states in the Western United States. Our flagship project is called the CK Gold Project. It's located in Wyoming. Wyoming's a wonderful state to be developing a future potential gold mine. It's very natural resource friendly. There's a lot of coal mines, a lot of uranium mines, a lot of oil and gas in Wyoming. They're a real partner and great jurisdiction. We have 2 exploration projects in Nevada. Some of the biggest gold mines in North America are located in Nevada, and we've got a great project in Idaho. So these are all Western, mining friendly states that are very, very supportive of these projects.
Like any other business, there's always challenges. And I'd love to know, because I don't know the business as well, what are the biggest business challenges today? And are they related to COVID, or are they completely separate from it?
Yeah, you have a lot of challenges, as you point out. So, in the gold exploration business, one of your biggest challenges is just getting the permits in place, to be able to conduct your exploration and development activities. We're very fortunate. We have our permits in place on our projects. And then you certainly have the challenge of, do your projects hold any gold? So there's a lot of ways we can go out in the exploration business to try and determine that. Everything through mapping, geophysics, geochemistry, soil samples, ultimately drilling. So we want to be able to prove up that we have gold, and not only that we have gold, that gold on our project can be potentially economic to mine. And a bunch of different things determine if a project is economic. Number one, the size of the deposit. Number two, the grade of the deposit. And number three, the depth of the deposit. Obviously, if it's located at surface, it's worth a lot more than if it's located 4,000 or 5,000 feet below the surface, and it's more difficult to get to. So these are a lot of the challenges. In COVID, which you bring up, there are additional challenges to any business, and certainly ours. You have to look at social distancing of some of our work crews and contractors. We just have to make sure that everyone's being safe. And a lot of whether it's federal government agencies for permitting or the assay laboratories that we send our samples to, a lot of these companies are on limited staffing. So what used to take a couple of weeks to turn around, maybe in a assay result, now might take a couple of months. So that throws some additional challenges into the business. And then obviously, as a publicly traded company, we have to always make sure that we have enough cash on the balance sheet. We have enough money in the bank account to run the company for general and administrative expenses, exploration programs. So, the capital markets become a challenge. Are there investors out there that want to take the risk to fund this project? Do we have enough money? How's our stock price doing? So it's a whole host of things that you have to manage when you run a company in the gold exploration sector.
Yeah, but very exciting. Upsides, obviously, exponential in that understanding of the risk and the timing that people can take advantage of with experts like yourself. One of the other things that have probably changed over the last 30 years, as you were describing the different components of the business, is how has technology created more certainty? Obviously, over the last 30 years, we've had such exponential power. We just landed on Mars, for example, and they're showing pictures and deposits of Mars. I can't imagine what we're capable of doing compared to when you started in the business. Where have been some of the greatest advancements in the certainty that's provided by technology?
Yeah, technology is huge. And in every business, it's fundamentally changing our lives and the way we do business and just thinking about our businesses going forward. So, in the gold exploration business specifically, we use a lot of technology to try and help us find that next big major discovery, the big world class elephant. And how do we do that? A lot of these discoveries are deep underground. Mother Nature does not give up her secrets that easy. It's challenging. And gold's at over $1,700 an ounce because it's rare and precious. So any aid that we can help for us to come with a world-class discovery, we certainly want to use that technology to our fullest advantage. So big advances in the last 30 years have been in things like geophysics. We look at gravity surveys. We can look at the densities of the rock. A lot of these world-class deposits are hosted in very, very specific types of rock. They're called limestone carbonates, and they tend to be the primary host rock in Nevada for these world-class Carlin-type deposits. So with gravity surveys and geophysical surveys, we can look down and see the densities of the rock. We can look at soil geochemistry. We can assay. We can look in the core and the chip samples for all different sorts of trace indicators like arsenic, realgar, orpiment, stibnite that can help us hone in on big major discoveries. And that's what we want to do. This is all a business of trying to get to a world-class discovery by spending the least amount of dollars so our shareholders can have the greatest rate of return possible.
And what is a good return on finding, one of these discoveries? Give some people some perspective on what one of these, mining expeditions is worth when you do find and discover gold.
Yeah, it depends. You just have to go back and you have to look at the history of other companies and discoveries. So, for instance, in Nevada, there were some companies that proved up some significant discoveries in the past that were taken out. There was a company called Frontier. They had a project in the eastern part of Nevada that they proved up. It was about 2 million ounces, and that was actually taken over by Newmont Mining for about $2 billion. So a pretty significant takeout. So their shareholders had a massive return on investment, and that can happen in this business if you are successful in hitting one of these world-class discoveries. There's another big major economic deposit in Nevada called Cortez Hills. Our Keystone project is very close to it. That was controlled by a company called Placer Dome. Barrick Gold ended up taking them over for, I believe it was $10.4 billion. So very, very significant takeout, predominantly for that asset. And so if you can prove up something with some substance, you can make some very, very significant returns in this sector.
It's so interesting because as I teach so many different entrepreneurs, I use gold to give an example of perceived value. I said, go ahead, give all your gifts in perceived value. So items, like purses and shoes and things that you can buy at 90% off that are oversold or discounted or wholesaled. But when people ask you what you want as a gift, always say gold, because gold has that real value. And today it's very hard to distinguish real value. I grew up on the gold standard. I understand gold, understand finding the experts like yourself and the exploratory companies like yours in order to effectuate great wealth. But there's this new kid on the block called Bitcoin. And I'm trying to figure it out, right? I play around with it. I have no idea what it's based on, or other than supply and demand. I mean, you got Earth 2 and all these other things that are just so incredible. What's your perspective on, the token world, Bitcoin world, and how does it compare, contrast with the gold standard in the gold world?
Yeah, great question. And we all know that the cryptocurrencies and digital assets have been on quite a tear here recently. So there's a lot of news, a lot of interest, a lot of excitement about it. When you get celebrity CEOs like Elon Musk tweeting about Bitcoin and buying $1.5 billion worth for Tesla, certainly going to put some eyeballs on it. Look, I think the cryptocurrencies, the mathematics behind the blockchain are extremely interesting and very elegant. I certainly like Bitcoin in that the supply is limited. It becomes very challenging and very difficult to mine the coins, solving these complicated mathematical algorithms with real computer and energy power. So we know the supply will be limited. So in essence, it is its own gold standard. Now, when you look at Bitcoin compared to gold, I believe Bitcoin and most of the cryptos are basically speculative assets. They're good for trade. They're great to speculate on. We've had an incredible run recently, up well over the $50,000 mark, even though we're pulling back now. But when you look at gold, and you really hit it, Dave, saying like, hey, when I want some tangible value, I want an ounce of gold in my hand. When you hold gold, if people have never held a 1 ounce gold coin, you can feel it. There's weight there. It's real. It's tangible. You don't feel that with Bitcoin. Gold as well, don't forget, has, a thousands and thousands and thousands of year history. And what gold does is maintain purchasing power over long periods of time. So in the days of the Roman Empire, if you wanted to go out and you wanted to get a real cool custom built suit of chainmail, that cost you about 1 ounce of gold. Well, today gold's at $1,700. I tell you what, with $1,700, you could probably go to a really nice tailor in New York, Hong Kong, or Milan and get a hell of a nice custom-made suit. So over $2,000, gold holds its purchasing power parity. Now, will that happen with Bitcoin? Bitcoin's been around since 2008. So what, 12 years? I don't know if Bitcoin will be here in another 12 years. The biggest risk to me of Bitcoin and any of the cryptocurrencies are number one, government regulation. If the US SEC decides tomorrow to classify Bitcoin as a security, that'll be dangerous. Number two, what's going to happen when quantum computing power comes and a quantum computer can hack every blockchain, every address in about a nanosecond? And everyone loses all their Bitcoin to maybe the North Koreans or the Chinese with a quantum computer. That's not going to happen with my ounces of gold in my sock drawer. No one's going to hack my bar of gold. It's tangible. That's why it's been a real store of value for 10,000 years of the history of the human race.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was talking to my wife because, I believe in having fun. So Bitcoin to me is like a craps table. You can have a lot of fun with it, watch it. But if shit hits the fan, excuse my language, do you want a pocket full of gold coins or, an email inbox full of Bitcoin or your Coinbase full of Bitcoin? I'm still maybe old school. Maybe I don't understand it correctly. I'm going for the pocket full of gold coins, and I'm still asking for gold coins for my birthday, not Bitcoin, still today. Not that I don't own some, and I have a 2014 sign from Bitcoin when we had some executives here in my studio still. So I just wish I was smart enough to have bought it right then instead of now. Um,
Yeah.
Last thing, real quick. There's so many different changes in the world. You have one of the oldest businesses, like I said, a very stable product that you're searching for. What's the upcoming plans for Gold Corp?
Look, we've got some incredible plans, and I'd point specifically to our project in Wyoming, our CK Gold project. We have been doing a lot of work there. We're moving the project right now to what's called a pre-feasibility study. We'll have that out by June. It's a very detailed technical geological report outlining the value of our project. We know there that we have 1.1 million ounces of gold and 300 million pounds of copper. So very viable project, comes right up to surface. Our CEO is one of the best mine builders on the planet. And I tell you, Dave, this guy's like the Tom Brady of mining. Tom
Nice.
Brady was at New England. He goes down to Tampa Bay, and guess what? He's a winner. He wins Super Bowls. Well, our CEO, George B., he puts mines into production. Some of the biggest deposits on the planet he has put successfully into production. And he came out of semi-retirement specifically for our Wyoming project. So we feel our company is tremendously undervalued today. We've got a huge amount of value there. We're going to put this project into production. We'll start producing in the future a potential gold copper concentrate, very, very valuable. And we think our shareholders have a chance to really make some incredible returns here in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's super cool. I know TB12. Now I know GB12 as well. So we got two goats. I personally, as much as I love Tom Brady and, I admire what he's done being Warren Moon's business partner for so many years, I think I'd still rather know the goat of gold much better than knowing the goat in football. It's not helping me quite as much. So certainly excited about what you're doing, especially at US Gold Corp. You can find them easily at usgoldcorp.co. Incredible conversation, so much insight that hopefully will make people a lot of money, help a lot of people, and we can have a lot of fun with it as well. Ed Karr, chairman of US Gold Corp, thank you so much for joining me, Dave Meltzer, here on Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.